Ali malungil tutaw. Ali ako mo connect to. Ali malungil tutaw. Kungi rongsak. Okay. Namoten offer magdimirin giru bakal mesois be mo start mo. Daklutun mo kolek MDLT ut magdi adu mo start. Okay, thank you. Okay, 87.9, I'm ready the bong. Otherwise, yung malungil total mera gulo rin sa 87.9 Ego Paradise FM ng El Belaw. Tidak malungil total mo ruran sirigid al sel Belaw mga ikrel Belaw. Logi wa PNCC digital streaming madirak al digital TV la PNCC la blur Belaw. El time tomes atableda press conference ng amal full at ang presidente ng Republic el Surang Lip Junior ma Vice President Minister of State el Udo Sangbaw. Direk ang artikel del ministers di Charles Obiang el minister MPII madirek el ngilait mutu el minister sel super ministry ang artiang ma AG madirek el kafarma ariter tirang adra EOC yung artikel bebulate el khusus kadamalang al tangate presidente le Mr. Chamberlain Ginchano Pastora STA Church Orior ang artiang mamamuskidang lungu al tutar ebo do urtel press conference rigid ulitra pastor mamamuskidang lungu
botel eklu da bololulu adam el dios ang arayang adam lola ba bekeklisi ulamayo brayang adam mautama i mermata memkodong yang claim rel al tutar uba ka era polomu urtel press conference Eruba kayak malmo tergaltri tergarogul misiungem ngalegem el tiramo o ngara al seltial meeting eruba ka ako ngit tergao ma etawring ergao bel beteng ala elo makngal tanga tertir el bastrira ya alloms el bastrira toko eruba el mosabeir el lospe el gatmokla ay gilgidil matmokra ertial press conference rel al tutaro ba ako mararo ba kalwasi kawap tikar ngumra balwam siya uul mga la ngoy titira ang lakem metmak masaw tapto kol lurior matoko el girela blumam government mablumam rebelaw mar adal tirang alsel makmalon ngit karuba kam pastriram passion erubak masel desire tir el plagaranrir el motmok laurior logiwa kaltareng mabud malamal terubak sel bol merek tel meeting tir e bol sabela arogul at ngak maklapkal lekor ka lendi kal tangirubak amuy el gire mamay arogul at ngak makmareng asulem e malmu tulon ngitak lang altangat en metel press conference el al tutaw mo makaltangat ringi erubak tayang nunguam lgi modersi el nganak lelang algem ni Jesus no madrak rusul giram amen
mal masawla pastor Ginchano el altame Mr. Presidente bokmati al maskambom du el amr tel togobet el press conference el gari al otorior ya el boringa que dile gorgara rubilo
Maluil tutaw patrol el mora ay badul mara klay rubugul belaw bilum ebira klay mar masil belaw Vice President mar minister sa dong gedra al tutaw ma President Senate Senator sa roguy Speaker marugul delegates governors legislators speakers mar bekla other belaw ngara ay krera blur belaw ma alsela blur belaw ngarang ayang al mura hot charigi mal tugubet sulu ngil tutaw le kora gida minar adra media ngartelo ngida al tutaw madelo aseng blol change askia yotera schedule gida ndi gida umra sel tolo ase ngira del mgodong adra media sel ngari am cloud to tel gida gida adadu esma dem qatak mura adra blum de klo ara ore ngara blum مقضى نارتيار الالتوتاو الكمية قضى نقرأ مال مريضة فيسبوك رأروق التغوي من أغنية تلو أيضا مرايل من جياد الممغة تكليل واسي أوي أدول توي ريجل داسي تستينج بروتوكول سريد إنغارية تست ملي باسيتيف را كوفيد را بلور بلاو Kadirikan madingil was a self positive test. Adekal buku yu leng test ra av ilmlani terrakt rangaramong mga ngada dek toktang mga mangal tangat leng ngartiang iraite a doktoriano lo panggev tira ngartia adara ministria hel makpai mo ministria te al mata mo miskida ko maka lom sodel mang adilungi la dogote sa te alla akafar mal bol miskida gen mal detail girel tial case ma iraite atam sula
Malungit tuta, Mr. President. Tutan marakaw Vice President, ma Minister sa ngarta, mabeklaat. Lamadong asus makti ko hede mo announce tial details sa tial announcement tigi del altutaw. So ngania traveler mlersel May 9 flight. May 9 flight, dimlakal sel flight tara kasus. So dal makataklilo sa May 9 flight, narsay gidel flight del May. Kita madangin rokuy, wala tiger rokuy mlersel skogi. Amle submit a negative PCR test result 72 hours or ernas or skogin merbelaw. Tirgem lem la quarantine roguy 14 days, amtamle test tara day 7 and negative, test tara day 14 and negative. Kita madang la protocol was tirgel roguy nga mandatory quarantine, sel top tara day 14 with a negative result, etangara self-monitoring period another 7 days, emutal me test tara day 21. So ngal mildang eli mildang saygi del day 21 test. Mlero hospital me test loban trigel restaurant travelers. Ndim lang iltang positive. Se all hotel akmong nding iltang amle consider the risk karakasus. Okay. Seral bel test amle asymptomatic. Mulmutrel atta meng asymptomatic. Burgulak mundia ka symptoms ringi. Yang kita president talo ay salo se kada considering it at time historical case ang wal previous infection era eral merbelaw ya contact tracing ulmu ra kasus after gim notify ra president wal acting in minister health contact tracing am start ra kasus ma protocol gida ngidil adal madang al positive adang mo isolate ringi tirigel immediate close contact sa mura quarantine so al time sa gida digit maklira kasus ngilong gel positive case mo isolate ringi get close contact sa ngara quarantine ang close to talala bodo ngil wasing consider the historical case ma threat del mara public el time consider del mal low okay lem letril PCR test negative es el day 21 test am le positive umda sa klamo yil del mara doctor yanon musadra testing di close to tell labo ng liya wasing historical case meaning nga previous infection emle confirmed that after other surveillance or interviewing was o nga maral mesme nga January 2021 earlier this year emlo miracle smear emlo vaccinate mang fully vaccinated after a bolser mang klorungo del madingelo sa sige akuk situation dal bangaringi hindi kita Ministry of Health ang protocol ringi kita la active potential a positive case makada follow a protocol ringi even though in previous infection fully vaccinated direct kalgatenge del moni amadang al positive case bela so that make sure the follow a protocol in place adi gigit for now Gildan mga doktor yan mo ko mus modis el test result to sa ngara ulmo test el negative 3 times mo ko test el positive day 21
so lang na Mr. Gafare will total more adra media so lang na president el shotar hamak met al press conference ma ay ko makait letelela gel ne positive case positive PCR case. Really, mlamadung raka farmo kudumrenga sulela EOC ra Ministry of Health gagida ngel incident commander Rita Udoy lun kudong ra meeting mumlaria meeting ra kasus. Aigal test Loru lakakro sil masil. Ay kaya mamudok mong analyzers. Ay analyzer hospital ang ari akldel types. Ngari nga kobas ang imong klel. Ngari nga Roche sen
Sa iya ko bas.
o kobas. Binax. Ngari nga lumukdorik mong gene expert. Ay kakakro sa PCL matetele la loru la test. Mang silsugo mong batok a number a case specimen la loru ito spera taramasil. Silsugo mong makasay ito ko spera imo. Let mtasuk na to save igal resources ra laboratory. Mang igel day 7 ma day 14 el test raigel specimen amirur sel analyzer la modoring mong kobas. Es el day 21 amirur analyzer la modoring mong gene expert. Aigal masila rule ngaringia ang mararingi diaglo modok mong PCR klela nucleic acid amplification test. Makadungwa tilgibra DNA al ubang RNA merkong mangloringi kada multiplying multiple times. Maigel kobas tial lam godorik mong kada mangloringi alam godorik mong CT psycho threshold CT. Ma testa mo positive ekadal mut lo ngwa positive test ngul me malang ringi mutiang tela CT number ringi. Ma kobas analyzer CT threshold ringi ang ariyaw. Blool ngara ogday. SL gene expert CT threshold ringi ang arbat. Awul mong cloud to tlela cell CT number, cell laboryo, ang blagulak mo specimen, maadalul dingilo a specimen ringi, adir nga ringi at el transmitter tel infection. El suguma CT threshold ringi ang arbab, ang malang alelak mo oy, mlatal nga ringi tial sel nga ringi, hindi akal infectious hindi akal loliu ringil moratara malungil por ol hotel igal testra TB ngaringa igel por a physical exam etok mong tuberculin skin test PPD skin test sel mliara imam el sugum negative hindi ka kabom sera TB el sugum mo positive en blulak mo mlatal expose el mora armela TB din diagam ngaringi at TB disease rakaw. Mlatal msera TB infection. Diagal bilgulak mo ngaringi at TB disease. Mga sisiul tleta lamara COVID. Al positive ra threshold ng ariyo bilgulak mo mlatal msera. Emergo infectious. Al suguma siti ngarbab ang mlatal msera. And hindi akal nga rin disease rakaw. So ada bol blog takl mora media mo ngel case ra COVID el naringi ra ko telbuil ngaraw ul mong malmol mul positive a PCR tangaring bebirar otherwise say ndagi mo nge ul hindi tangaring mo elol malbuil ngaringi tial the run a test PCR and directly positive and then the albulak mo the smear.
Vi kunne tell introducera Dr. Thane. Thane obangedra al tutau. Thane, hello. Thane is our expert from the CDC, like Dr. B. Everybody knows Dr. B. And he's joining us today from the FSM. I understand you're in Pohnpei, right, Thane?
That's
So-
correct.
Yeah. And we're happy to have you with us today. I know the conversation has been going on in Palauan, but I wanted to let the media know that we have experts here, and if they have questions, we can do it in English or Palauan, and the experts are here to answer. But if you would like to say anything about the case that we have in Palau, maybe how the CDC, what are the guidelines, and what how you the terminology that you use to describe it, or explain it to the public, if you can, since we have a reporter that speaks English, doesn't speak Palau, and we can help her understand.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And first off, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to help and support Palau at this time. I think anytime there's a positive COVID-19 case, it's concerning. But looking at this case and knowing sort of all the preparedness that Palau has undertaken for COVID-19, I think Palau is as good or maybe the best positioned nation in the world to respond to this. I think I heard Dr. Yano speaking as to some of the details of the case in regards to the tests that were done, and it sounds like his understanding of this is excellent. And so, really it looks like, as we've learned with COVID-19, that there are some individuals that continue to shed the viral RNA, so the nucleic acid of the virus, even though they are not shedding infectious virus anymore. And so that's why a lot of our CDC recommendations, you may know, have changed, where actually in the US, we do not test people out of isolation anymore, because there's so many people that even though they recovered from COVID, there's no live virus left, they still test positive, because these tests that we have, these PCR tests, are so sensitive. And I heard Dr. Yano speak extensively on the cycle threshold, or CT value, which gives you an idea of how much virus is in that specimen, or the nucleic acids there. And it looks like this specimen did have a higher CT value, which means it had to be amplified more before the test could be detected. So that's somewhat reassuring. And then, as Dr. Yano mentioned, I believe the Ministry of Health also appropriately did some additional testing using an antigen test that was negative, and a serologic test looking at antibodies that were positive, indicating that this may be an older infection, and that the immune system was and had responded to the virus. So unfortunately, we can't rely on any one of those tests to really rule out any, all risk, but it does seem to indicate that of cases, this is probably a lower risk case for infectiousness. And sometimes the term that is thrown around with other cases that we've identified like this is a historic case. But at the same time, as I mentioned, no test is 100% for ruling out infectiousness, and really want to recognize the Ministry of Health's quick action, one, in detecting this case, but also, out of abundance of caution, putting them into isolation and doing the contact tracing and quarantine of close contacts. But again, I think as we step back, know that CDC is always here to support the nation of Palau as you guys move forward through this pandemic, as we've been with you from the beginning. But really, Palau and the entire community of Palau has really taken great steps to be prepared for this moment, with the immunization coverage where you're leading the world in your immunization coverage, and that really is what's going to protect Palau. And I think the term that has been used is COVID safe, going from COVID free to COVID safe. And all of us, really are so impressed and really feel that Palau is ready for this kind of challenge. But again, as the case goes, as I think Dr. Yano explained, it does seem like the case is not perhaps an extremely infectious case, but do recognize the ministry's appropriate response to it out of abundance of caution. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Thane. I had the opportunity to be on Radio Australia this morning, and they asked me about the vaccination, and I was, sharing, first of all, how our partnership with the United States has been tremendous, and we have been able to vaccinate 97% of our adult population and 70% of our total population. And we have to understand that we need to be moving from COVID-free to COVID-safe. And I think we're opening with care, and probably the protocols that we have in place are, at sometimes people feel extreme, but it's about opening with care. And I know that, for example, you don't do the extra testing, we do it because it's about opening with care. And the ministry has done an excellent job. Ritter and her team have done an excellent job in making sure we're protected. And I think really the message is we want to continue to be protected, and that's why we got vaccinated. And I think the team is ready, and we're proceeding with the great advice that we get from our friends at the CDC and, of course, in Palau. So thank you for that. And maybe I can open now. Open and get it.
Good morning. So from this, what do we do now? I mean, what's the advice to the public? And also, so this was going around, the conjecture was going around this morning. Text messages are going around. So is it important that timely information are given out on public health issues like this? So the public would not panic. And so what now? What should the community do?
Okay. We'll give Kafar.
Thank you, Bernadette, for the question. Based on the information that we received since the case was confirmed as positive through the lab, and based on the circumstances and full information we received, we wanted to make sure that we have our protocols in place and that contact tracing begins. We had to notify the President as the Minister of Health, and then we make sure that we have all the full information before we disclose to the public. We also had a flight coming in last night, so a lot of our surveillance folks were prepared to screen at the airport, so we had to, so I myself and the Director of Public Health had to go and do the screening at the airport. But the important point is that it is a travel-related case. It's not found within the community. And as Dr. Yano and Dr. Thane Hancock have mentioned, the case is considered low risk. What to expect? So the public, at this time, there's no need for any panic. We ask that people remain calm. Contact tracing is ongoing. People who need to be notified or need to be interviewed will be contacted by our surveillance folks. Those who are working at the airport, keep in mind this is over 21 days since the traveler came in. It's well beyond the incubation period, and they were in quarantine. So again, the risk is considered low. The public, please remain calm and practice preventive measures, hand washing. If you're sick, stay home or wear a mask. We continue to preach that. And contact tracing is ongoing, and those who will need to be notified will be notified. I think that's pretty much it. But it's also up to the President and NEC if there's further steps that need to be taken. Yeah. So lang Bernadette for the question. El atay makadamadangil was single case travel related and bulgulak mo dimlak al madang ara alsela balu sa edel wasen dimlak ngar bela al magte tematang amlarangod al balu emay kadamadangel wasem lalengilak ra erul Sunday. In fact tamlamo edel Sunday since almay etamla quarantine la erul Sunday cell incubation period at tial rakta mang kada mesringil waseng gegare ate ellel loliu laringi edimla gegare ate ellel rgot talmel merelang le kadamadangel waseng gangam lesme eraway ragot talbuil Michael Blaldo nga Dr. Yano ma Dr. Ten ulwasing saygidia au ulmam lo positive hindi ka nga niya talgibel kora ada ka tokor bela toktang remnants mong hindi saygidi mar ada belu agidio lingit lo asedi da bot klorngut tolmol membru legel doru landi ka mo korgik makdamol malmol malmal imat al sum kasme de la mo mais sugo mong moringa changes of course sa mo ay sa lose nga next step hindi close to tele la bodo dingil waseng nga historical gays ang balungulak mong mlamoda kal buguyuyul nga isolation lang itirigel adal bildang araksus sa takme dringi or close contact sa nga quarantine at time contact tracing amalmol matirigel adal madang waseng lo amlo kme tir or ngi surveillance team amo kadong team to mo madangi
mal masawle kafare mal mal kora rapida testing mai kalureri malungil mo mal masaul ati kera wase there's two questions akota ngaringia already mararabulu la senta angkal adan losmer makita matangali se last incidental el malbloklo kora negative makita teletal mararabulu kwadi sikidas kidal akora bring to attention lang ngayar adol already tamla pass around the sentangam losmer ya ongero nga sikida tiang awada 3 weeks after ablalme ngal ade through amal batokal test kada dir kam tigaringi mambalgula say in the future lolmol malmalme kadal amut tul mumtirak medalo situation len taptokal adal ngarekel belawa amlamos met tengi momerekel asa telil mutalme mangara ko again kalam namin sunung hindi ko ati sengara ko recommendation ng mga atrablu gina like el maralmel possible el case el boto particular sa ngayara adal mlamos met mungile el din mutas in mesois problem belawa
sulang ragere so sige del longerul gel waseng kada mo expect sure enough kada mo expect to seng anyar mutal bebira mo osisiul el case el mesois especially lora lar adra blue adal mo to tiram lamrus hindi kunda sa club to telela sige del waseng ngiram el determine sengang buku yur el time el ubendiak historical case el ubendiak hindi ngira del malmol di practice of preventive measures asugum nganiar adal dirga kalorus el caller hotline el OI sa magim kukum schedule ratara time el mamrus la kadum dinga sel ang tokar adal kuk mumdak dirga kalorus sa igi di akora sa edal dulir el ang ngaram le sel kotel garim komeng I say kada malo lingit tara atara blu lo sebol moklorngut la kada stigmatize rarat mo tirigel me first el PUI man nomring laklang artire de kadil tir mar family members artir ma tel imol blu keringi mong lo oklo arod al girir magda malo lingit lo sebol moklorngut gitial lamrus ramal butokal at segi dia direct lon sergidel مسابقة كرجيد مالبورنيا أمرال غانيا community transmission إغدا سلبا أكل ملاقدا بودا ومكنيت المورتير غالات جيمالو لينيتو سيلاقا مول مل لو أيس السقوم مقوم لارميكسو ستتاang إندا قبل قول دو دنجي ويجل تيلونga السقوم مقا ملامدان الوسيقم لي close contact غانيا other hospital مو ومقدون رقاو ملاقدا غارا سيبكرين إذا بعدك تل lumukwadra raat
kurang sa tialgere Miss Raklay Ay gal information na private. Merkung medical mong confidential. Ay ga malut krar ngula mal di derstalat. Ngaringi public implication ringi. Dia ka question ngaringi. Ministry ra health marwa ka pharma EOC ang lomalay game kadbayim ititrir matermula urerir. Egidal adrablu amamuklar ngud merkung mo kada respect de mungul ra confidentiality tial test result ma privacy ra bekla tama taraat. Akoradit muy gid mung mobil katakluk na se dongul ra kuk teletelela adra ministry alungur tial barad mru like elurerir.
يخدم راه الجدرون يترقل لورين راه أضربلو يغط الأولى كذمم إتلو الأويد باي كذا باي يقدر تماغلو شيء التعال continue to keep people safe ده هذا we hope يصير بلا experience ري رانغت ما ده هذا لوتري بيتري هذا كذا مريا بلاد سو تسبيل بلاد سو يبون مكلورموث إلا قبضو podemos quitar más tama talada el bigo se cada big ndel tu asen da gida big ndin girer klar mud ndem la vaccine girer klar mud lo se cada qalt mok girer klar mud lo se la system la testing gid awre idri girer klar mud lo se li mura test gida wa se metiam bugo yu lan dia na otiro sen dia gal bugo yu la ya maklor mud el girer na lo se ministry health rigid ma system rigid awre mon bodo marara system rigid bodo marara adalong marara awre lagado or toda tul oidania mo wal tamlak langara atal niya girel kotrulen ador tirakra aigal uk raktirar ad malo bengidil medical information giral ada ga giral private protector dum gadamral giral ga ngasol imol bulul giral sey kurse kada giral bulul mum beata tul la vida todo diga da donito ase bodo respect la maltela tamatal adar bela it's unfortunate
Presidente mga Vice President mga Victoriano Miro Buila. Tiagida hotel kir. Ngal como sengal Adam lesme ra hotel buil. Ngasera bol sereng mlarbe lau mlaram digel. Engang oi. Engang dial el redir ram digel ila pastor mlarbe lau. Mlarbe lau au era hotel buil. Al hotel buil al uwe mlara abel wale mosmere emi sida hotel ger
Nga mlosmere kulbelaw mlo ngil emrus rekulbelaw mo fully vaccinated emro test negative emira belaw so isa belaw
lagi da klik mokrel apela punta sa klik mokla dia ka agora Warrior gitu loh sekata dia klub moklo mengelang kasir alamir elang legal merokol telak klub sei ngaringal bloringi ngaringal atar belau belel mitet ni bloringi pasiol kumir elang amna mo question tirge gitu atar belel mit oh sir asuda lo meng ngarate tel ya presidente kunda sil atara tikida oitial teletal ngaringal blul ad ngari belau Tial adri katal tu berair almi. Kelengarar ada at stake. Labi birat ko yak padengaya confidentiality raser atau tengeli. Di oitiai ki del ser. El mod katal tu. Kelel lungi ligel bol blotak tu kukariya some basic information do to. Mamlin sa tetele lasel. Akum dasula bol blotak was taas mer ngul isolate ngi protect ngi and make sure hindi kumdas kelela kalau ngul ta apply ti igi lo se ko kala dimul ke ngi kalen kalau pa take up precaution was ka makara isolate ra make sure ika bodo open about it len ngara gida ngara malu ko dal ngram irai mong mede baik bukta se podo take up precaution como mask roku la kaporti aquí del basio masungo podo honest about it adang ngak nato ak ba kisa lo sen kurang mal ko dal protectora ngal ave guk ngar gidam ngara
President tumalungil comment makera narangirmang hindi pagikring ak mumtila damu ringi ngrama ulab ngalel elakad mo ngaria HIV kad mo turar other rogui ngaria raktelak mungra antal kad mo tugur ti rogui unended tilgibul Kung pagkikringi Mr. Talam sumo. Kadungul mas kami wending of course ay kang nga laal cover. Yeah, medical information confidential ay ke rogul laal ko tingi confidential. Tadi adra health lagi amatingay mo. The termur tra public health.
Social karim yang irmang lwase tirakat lorger morger waigel dilunga president katolingit lwase da satte lela tetelela urior mal lolomol yal sugu magi mittigeringi lwase maagi red al masub dra boy lwase tiagid mittiagid iqda kuk morsaygi el altaim ba contact tracing amal mol mit malas malo interview lwase tirakat lo ngang lok med taang lorger iratel aklok mo ingrang lewate mongarat tetelel Asum kadam tigeringi was im lamo gire dal guk morsaygi the next step was kadam awa sub dra tokkalat e saygi de abodo wa isring in the al timing kadolingit was the pol moklormut satte la surveillance team el guk longot mokro relel e bolo isr gama mal sugum necessary do sub dra boy le kadam das was ngaringia oy wadel terrak tra al sela blu e saygi de guk morsel next step
CDC's point of view, let's say.
Dr. Tayan, are you still with us? Can you hear me? Yeah, so basically the question I think revolves around travel history and what happens with contact tracing and should we be notifying the public at large to avoid certain places that we think the case might have visited and things like that. So can you perhaps just...
Or just disclosing the name.
Yeah, and also the privacy and why it's important for us not to disclose any confidential information for the patient.
Yeah, thanks, Gafar. I think, I'm sure if individuals can think about, if this was themselves or their daughter or that sort, or brother or, son that was infected, it's hard if you share that, especially I'm sure in a small community like Palau. And in the U.S., that privacy, we certainly feel that that's very important, especially when you look at what Palau is doing. So the ministry being able to quickly identify the case, put the case in isolation, assess sort of the level of infectiousness based on the testing and the testing history. From our side of things, Palau is doing everything necessary to eradicate any chains of infection that may be associated with this case, although quite unlikely. But when in public health we feel like, we need to disclose a location or we need to disclose more about the potential case, it's really when you are unable to perform those important sort of contact tracing and case investigation activities that Palau is doing. So I think, as in always in public health, the safety of the entire population is most important. But as long as that's being taken care of course, we want to protect the individuals as much as possible as well. And so just from my sense, all the work that the Ministry of Health is doing does illustrate really success of the systems of identifying this case, even though extremely low risk, and responding appropriately.
Thank you.
Sula, Mr. Presidente. Pero ay sa relief nationalya, 96% population of Palau. La mujer lo dice, gira del confidente, gira terra. Dia gira mora doctor ya no gira ite. Sula, Mr. Presidente. Kulu ay sara earlier. El mengaria 96% of population of Palau la mujer lo dice. Mengwal kira del confidente mutial rakta del better gida musmeringi. Ndi gira mura ngira ite doctor Yanot mo te gira rakta el dormente el ngarangal el other blab tigni setip. In sebeli mul el mora adal tiram lang urus malu ang mora restra population. Malu bendia.
Be dolngitra return maluben ka farm lo ay sa result tirgel mekmedra gal contact case.
So the now tingel wasengal case rigida positive. Tigel close contacts el milngal mora quarantine rasus tirgem le negative. Sera rasus el lungu segi del first confirmation. Era the lilut del run ra test, lilut del confirmed. Sera el mga el mega de lilut del maya sample artir, so wal bolongerul sample el dang artir. Kadam le test el 3, dolus pe atril, kakaros el badang la test legal dollar el al time el mut el retest artir. So kadam le test artir for antibody, sel test el lo sigel wasing ngarngi mlaringi arak del ngarab dengir. Ongero nga sel antigen malubeng binax say OI sri del wasay tal positive ng active el gays ng sab elolu lerngi el moraad ndiak selong ede asel lemut el seguid el usada niya doctor Yanol sel coba sel gene expert or sel wal PCR test. So antibody test artir milgat taklil wasay tirokuy الملاطل exposed المورتال راكت متى بملي positive را سيد ال IgG وايجل سيلون رول قول صادر نيل واسين سيل لو ايسترجيد الواسي ايغال تال راكت السيرنيين نيمون بوي يولن ديا خندير اكتيف الجيس السبل لو يولي المراترا ادن ديا تيروغو الملي نيجاتيف سيل انتيجين تيست سون نيجاتيف سيلون يدي سيد ال PCR التست عليلو تلمغ التقليل واسي او ينجيد الكيس confirmed التريجل contacts negative so سيل دو مسا يجيد القلدية يجمل بأس اللي لو الملايل so سيل دو مسا يجيد القلدية نديرق الوالغورا اسمي سي اي تيال الدست الواسي تيانغا historical case نغا ملسمير راو اي سون بلغولا سيني ماركان تاكسرني ملسمير ممو ملو ألتر سيد الانتيباري تيست اندين دياق تيل روغويل دياق السبري لو ليو لرني لتملي نيجاتيف سيد الانتيجين تيل روغول ملي نيجاتيف سون سيد دياقورا سو انسير question واسي دياق سيد الانتيجين تيست تملم بالتقليل واسي لسيد القدم لا بتقول دوسادر وفيرال لود ما راقل من بلغولا سين مالغاريو سيل الفيرال لود من تقلل له اليولرين المراعاة مالغاريو
سبيلو ايسه ريتورت مترجي del adne contact tamla mutti al vaccine malu bendia
so el angin ndirakal contact tracing amalamolma ndi tirgayid el guk mildang arakasus el mal el gorak meda el contact tirgayid amlanga el mora a quarantine ngaring irtira mlamrus mangaring irtira dirga kalmarus.
Mr. Talam sa mga selulugar niyang kale kafar na sing remnant among oidel motor belak mong multil oil hindi akal ser. Musigi di answer la korakaw.
Will tutaw. Question na nga ka in light of sikal ko question arwa confidentiality kila adal dia kabol to ngarang already mlamo mararablu. So maybe atara within the chain of information Ministry of Health lelik keringi, so maybe agir that take a look at that. Number 2 kari ka se el algora seldadu positive yar ada gura to badal bangi sabab milo ay selwase understand waseng sel tara test dollar ngil mother na tool those ngaringa numbers mo laber el altam waseng tetelal adam longwa ongerung edim lakabol ngusel amlongwa ko edim lakabol ngusel ongerul lorus, and if so tirgegit fully covered al ubeng ndiak.
Dega question ang gira del smisi selu protection or confidentiality rara kung yelo sen kodos per improvement gira se gafar mo ay sa statistics ra tigel tim la kabel mo ay rulorus.
Mo say kumdas numbers sa dola ba less than 100 tala wal blalungo first dose ra mother na edirga kalbelungo second dose. Hindi omrus am laring ina Friday ngara edel dart madaring il adang ila first dose mambulgulak po tamangira next month mamlar second dose. Hindi di sir tirgel adal legiril mamlar second dose edirga kalungo less than 100.
Social number less than 100 tirgel mlengu wa first dose tirsera dotlo mu olara ako tulbuy la January merel ang less than 100 even maybe less than 70 hindi ngaring ako rawal ulen dim la kalapel lolay tirgel ngaring mla mosmer ngaring mlamo off island namral mo rekrel Palau ngaring hindi direct lungil isel do isel say ngaring adadal mlartiang emle kukle emergency ra matatilob del micrel Palau el mloram rigel emlong emaya second dose tira bluram rigel. So sab edel ngwa first dose gida tiang esel da boram rigel es long as ko bas el garder gida ul mesel mirada gi malasay ko mga tmokler tal garder gami ulesel ngaringa tutelel ngaringa reli so tamlong emlo sab arir el morigel clinics el ngaringa umrus emaya second dose tir dire makuk ngaringa baby they opted choose el de halbelola ra say gida el second dose tir. So there are people that do not want to come get their second dose for whatever reason. Agi malamol mal reach out till every time yung mga niya umrus. I personally call them to come in. Some have come and some have flat out said no, hindi aki mi ako. Mga ringar meso yisabal mel mo kasi hindi hal sokal melar till second dose. So hindi nila senda kasi edel force rahat. So lang.
Hindi kasi el force tira mala second dose ma vaccine hindi pa kuntel tel tiragal di reminder adrablu especially tigal de gamler ngaras ko gira kasus ngaria protocol sel do follow gira la testing gira den make sure godo tirakla le sum de mo tirakla ngaria fine ngaria gel testing de sel gira mera test please mera gel sils de galwa aurusa ese choice ka di testing please follow ngari adam lamis reiter ay del testing.
So tirgal other role mesoyis brablu bela ngaringi quarantine order sa langayel wasay kawang wangaratitel kamura mandatory quarantine nagire mal test ra day 7 day 14 day 21 even ng luukla day trigel testing date sal giril memalay also mandi kape muwa tester ka or sige del sils ikamla to mali quarantine order ka eng sab penalized ter sige del $500 ngaringi yar ngaringi yar tim nakal show up mang aureo ramra giris tirga tim nakal show up so mal close to telela asel ligang tirgal adal me el follow ay quarantine orders el langay wasel sugum agim lak murgal sengira melmera oingar al silsel me malara test emo mal gira me malara test lela yang kamu penalized $500 so
could open with care. Ding sel care require adam mangar alil. Nodolin ter adam motirak lagal ngar alim. Len mi safety rar bekla ada to saadani.
The last one incident commander kada malum mara system ergid magada waseng di ngara bordere kada da amiyang pura quarantine el todo del test we kada malum mara klisi la system ergida you've worked long time to make sure it's secure ding dia kakura haudasul wase will do akura di random testing ra public wase engaging kura til ngilo era tial masisil system ergid or do you think that's unnecessary?
So segi de lulukor nga ka faral wasay aureo ramla o muulal gira la contact tracing matirigay gidel guk madang alwasay mlaringi ako ra contact sertilo bangela among aringiya a protocol set so they would mongarnya time yagi mo askertiral me test di el al timing segi del kodore toliter adra balura kaloreng madire ka club pe wasay direct wasay dia da panic men dia kal bulgula wasay moral mem request el test lenguk ngarngia protocol in place ani tetele la reor el bulduk el wasay kada test ra wat al ad ra o ingaral time so igigiti agibo morule e ol tirakla al sugum mongarnya time el mogiri ar adal mer other bela rogul me test yagi mo announce ringi logiwa dagi del press conference mamura media wasay sa bamil me test so lang.
Just follow up. There are also expat living in Palau, so if you can sum up the case, what has been talked about here, and also there are questions from the people. So, are we allowed to gather? Like there's Palau games upcoming. There's a big run and walk tonight. So, people are going to conduct business as usual. What are the precautions that you want people to take without, as you said, be calm and don't panic?
Sulang Bernadette. So for now, based on the current situation and what we know, we proceed with care, proceed as normal but with care. Once again, if the need arises that we need to take the next steps in terms of preventive measures, we'll make those announcements. But at this time, since it is a travel case, it's an imported case, let's give the contact tracing protocol some time to investigate further, and we'll update the public as needed. But for now, I think we should keep practicing the preventive measures: hand washing, physical distancing. If you know, and if you're sick, stay home or wear a mask. For now, let's start practicing that again. Yeah.
But I think the important question is, so do we still have the run walk this afternoon for World No Tobacco Day? The answer is yes, we do. Are we going to have Palau games? Yes, we do. And I think Dr. Yano's example is very clear. What we have is we have a footprint, meaning all we see is there's a trace that there was COVID because it's a historical case. I think that's the most important part of this discussion is that the case is imported and it's historical. And based on the test, the CT results and the antigen test, they indicate it's not transmissible. So we can see the footprint, but that's all. It's not going to step on you, right?
Not the
Oh,
foot. Not the
the
foot.
foot, not the foot. We can see the footprint. We can, yeah, okay. Better not.
There has been a question that has come in. This is regarding the flight that came in last night. One of the questions was, are we gonna change the protocol for those who came last night? The answer is no. We were ensuring that we receive proof of vaccination and the proper PCR test, including the proper swab before they got on the plane. So tirigel mlera kasus adi malmol malngara ROM halik pagkateklia ROM restriction of movement ng 7 days salgiril di limited abisir al selabalu tadi ngara kablirir malubal sukum ta adrangol alblu kira hotel at kira pandemic certified al hotel sabiil maurior sabiil morastawang sa ilmorabang kal sum tokora refiller karang ken sa ilmer hospital agi the server tira igel quarantine order tira ROM alumit to restrict the movement to 7 days mandial giril mora omangat taldial giril mora kamandil until at the test ra mandil June 7 segi dia ROM giril lo mask at all times hindi waigal previous trip para delegation of president sel returning 7 days al ROM at test out mandial change sa protocol tira gidem dera kasus let the fully vaccinated the rogui except ra gagrel ngal kalmle accompany ra lulbanterier adrabli ng gatol oy mendial vaccinated tigiri lo maskra gel rogul borngi segi de agora kuk tetela la flight ra kasus hindi so adal makataklilo seng dimlakal gay sa kasus may sel previous flight tokar adara urior adara operations sa first responders sa malmlobigik kasus may al time lo se kalilkura in danger again nakatulong ito sa basat la contact tracing at sugum gukta kal contact terkaw dakal kolor kaw ang dakat dimlaka dakabulgul yeah hindi again at sugum mga niar other learning sa tiyang idirga kalorus le last del patam le Friday ako mga sera sabadong so mga niar adal dirga kaloris rorus sorry marus el color hotline el di OI stilo se kama madriga gi morus por sa mam badingil se tamal telar ada madel girel dakal batok
Just to help understanding Rablo, a testing el trigger rogul mlera may 9 adururi ra 7, 14 and 21 matri ndika dito sa other trigger tede tir rogo am negative except ang gigit 1 it shows the system isolate quarantine the testing is clear if lebago yuru lang dimlak that's I think clear indication sulang
maldelas kari ke maybe mura minister obi ang kwati verification iti kal mura kafar mlanya ay sera weekend wasang mlanya yatan mesoyis yatra tata Australia ang maral toy kura procedures al kinel say emlet telala
malar nga yatal misoyis dimle imo adal nga alsel ministry rahel da le screener ngi emle tester ngi ma test result ngi amle negative sige damle na understanding ko mama mla marahel dimle tester ngi mle malas malaya alu visual me mala alu lendi ya aluul ding lo dekal sa maalu leng ng song sa hotel nga technical difficulties ra karata mang dimle kel mo klodol el mutal marala atra marine law amle security ringi
Sula Mr. Presidente tal question amora commander IOC kulwai sakmu ngaringi tirgel le misa tested PCR testing at le travel merbelau tirget le ra may 9 malu beng ngiral time etem le misa gel temilego Again, direct remain confidential malubin saber lo ay sang clear matameng urus ling. Tagi da lo urus saber lo ule kadam tirik mo. To COVID-19 malubin dia. I mean a test, PCR testing.
O yang melar seguid el grup per tirgal mle test al weekend. Melar nga dim lagal me test. Ding dakas amlo ay sarangklel. Hindi public health mo contact ringil el seguid el violation ra quarantine orders ringil.
Tia presidente dia last telger. Di mlemol ma akasuset ko tiu mate del adam lei. Ya mutu tawe to kai material adam rael. Di kada la asum lo sitira to ko ti adam belawe. Tirgal merael amol mutel mei tirgal merael tirgal mlea to ko ti adam belaw. Angaria o itegi del to ko il amol. Ya o itegi del tel case lo sa mi. Kami ko mo merang lo aseng kita kilmok ngak om das ke kilmok deal wat yang di tia kita ba klol ger tia lo marara kasus tiangu olela opena border belau ko me sam rigel la magis men se el so se ka om das la eli ke mo history gitu lo sem le opena border gitu ndingaria ke gitu conditions require.
So tiablo olger المي مقبول سجيدا دقا تم close border رجيت تجد على ستير ميلا المول ما أسكو جيلمي دين غريا requirements الرئيسي بالليل هذا ما توب هذا continue change البيسرا science بيسرا I get preparation رجيت بيسرا قرار بلادنا أي كده هذا المول من adjust من kada ngila kamle bring it up akora the mesra news for example Blue Orlando or Florida back to 90% passengers am now return more Florida at the level of 90% at 2019 level. So other people are traveling. Other mesa cases ram rigid and the because of vaccination. Yeah, those are facts. Look at the tell a situation or we make adjustments. I think the most important part message Ministry of Health I say we open with care, continue to be open with care.
Kami borong kay gidel el redil lo batiarak del homeless mayor. At Maria ko mesra kami kada kom protector hindi kom taswa. Ahil regidar at vela la ka klol tutlel agri gawat yang gang ada ngot al bulu ela se suma ada ngot bulu amel white yal case e kada mol ngartiam ere ngartiam te kada tritring al sugum smer yo duro klima blu ala loben ngartiam godom karni of course asum ada vela ngire ngartiam grure kele tiablo Kani mas kami aku case wase oi tiagi del case kada magrati ni semua orang udah belum
sulang ragere girmang arak tada kalom kadeo lo saka adarke kasal kardil ka klo ka kare se direct kalgel tetele la guru la maigel services ra hel dal mura gidilat mang al adrang udal belum malak hindi kama magiram lomkaringi protectoringi di wagi protector bekla mang dakal sebel yor irora patingila ada malubong adarge el bolngot a tetele la guru lan moringi mang al adar belaw malak engirel jo sisi wa treatment tel moringi rabek talang tingi la urior ma guru moringi hotel maduli lo sing adar ngod belu ndin dakal girel matter was ang other gate other belaw mal other ang belum ang klela gire del protector ngi matetele la gurul morim gire di tapsul bay kada bay mo pagik le se sum kana malmol mal di stigmatize ra other ngod belum mal upta other belaw Igda jeopardize egal nge sol dollar kakarusel belul mel tumo se okomiwa di moniat taligi pengarang e kom stigmatize hindi akal gina dalwaisay mong hindi akal sabel di rak taw ul akdam uli sara adra belu tida kuk tomda sulwa sara adal belal ngara merigel ngara huriping ngara taiwa nga polse dat luis til mermay hindi akal gina dalwaisay.
Sula Mr. Gafar, Mr. President, tial kirala mirgaul ngari statement ngale Ambassador Amrigel la tuwa dak places el talbonia COVID rabelawe ya blur Amrigel ready mel nsergi tal tuwa COVID-19 kam la uaisra Ambassador Amrigel gerel tial geis ngarangora kam la adadu ngil la sengran sevel makut maklil gerel el time.
Dia الممغة تقتلوا سي أمريكا لا دريق الستوبلو المسيورجي سيرلو مولا غوبي در ميرا لانغ أولا غاريا ACS سيل Alternative Care Site أولا غاريا وضوض الكندقتا يقال كورنتين أولا غاريا تيستين كيت سرجيت أولا غاريا غار أولا قدم لما فاكسين ملا تيم لون مسيورجي درا فاكسين هل بريد الترين الجيرلا ولو موريا يقال كيسز أيها لورو أمريكا kita mal dirgo marang of course dirga do ai ser ambassador Amrigel actually is off island di gumbral was a position Amrigel ula afen obenget nga adara CDC adara Amrigel a segi da commitment adara Amrigel mal sum godom mos peages I'm sure that zilo durokra adar me on masor gid di el al time engal patient adega symptoms degal ser Maise, saya maise meng ngurtuira alda du lo mengela blur Amrigel au ula athena se lo benget meng trigen ngarbelau sha gele charge ngartiang gela dong do duri mergongia help pergidel lo siga gel nges for Amrigel berigid pat sulang rager.
Ini bok edo Mr. President. So in addition to vaccine ng loduli akar. So el time kadam lamma akar rablu Amrigel sa edros pe lomkar up to 4 at el mosme el mo require guru melubum tamo new year COVID. Seguida level rangis dollar ni. Of course kadal salba active for no.
Maldi last follow-up question ke Kafar mention lo sir interview kal other seral to the result positive ikomlom dengela senga ne smear tel case ra before tiang tel interview di take place at sukum ngaya positive case alu bendia karole le bom find out ra weral me kel first test lang ar weral me bela lo say ngamlat tala ser malu bendia.
Say del interview amil gat mokra after the positive result. Sa tetel hindi akumdas ang amaral na mo gila del chance sa protocol al mo make sure that tirigel el mesoy sa ba ay indicate to sem latal ser maluban dia. Lakumdas el al time magdadi malayar sel wasem latal volgate ra adal smer gamla vaccinate maluban dia realize say gidel negative PCR test ra well si sa
tutrela tara ular ada maybe tegal sori lo ice lo se toba terak tegi dulu do sudo se trigal amla modo gol dal se del mokmeder tire ngire del ori di se marada mo pia help prigid mo kada mabdul medina sengara kada mruri mo kada tester tire mabdul handle a situation mo kada mal understand the transparency tara dos pera median bruria menglo andre ara de mo understand was se oblam se ertera before kada kom kitel af oi go ngari urtilo il ndin de kom kitel af tagaloin so seguida da adoro ertera mo moklornir ma sa tara bla da doringa se sel QC requirement read ask a question mo ertera se tiam tablam se erindia
el ati agida last tirgel tuwe mer kril merio under 18 al adrigabol vaccinated. Sa sugum moringa kar el mo sabel mo momrus. Yang la wangara temel mo in momrus. Yan sugum temski dara dam rigel momrus yang la sabel expecto sing o ngarangi kita apalur wala as el reach ngara almost 100% ar adal mlamrus tierra.
So latest report ila kadam dengil wases el Pfizer at tilo bada EU eringin lang mo sab el marusar 12 el morbab. Hindi kita timnado nga Pfizer. A mother na the 1 month behind their segi del Pfizer. So ako the latest malutong recent report mother na wasing ngora ngila a study. Ding dirga kal submit aba bilingir el mura CDC ma FDA. Tokadom das kodomes timeline el al June el mo endra June el mang most likely al sila July eng la of the cell EUA. Kita milay a mother na rabluram rigel. As soon as entov the EUA a mother na girel are 12 years old and above, 12 almost 17. A CDC maskit sel allotment el giri tirigel population ergidel ngar segidel age range 12 almost 17. So right now amle projected the population ablur bela 12 to 17 at 1,500. So a CDC kaltmoklo maskida gidel allotment del giri tirigidel population ergid. Mga ensera questionnaire ka wasay sila July o do mesra asegidel mo sa edel Michael mother na eme mo start del marusra tirigidel 12 to 17 year olds. Under 12 dirgal bolto da.
Return di ulabong el question del mlara balul may kuk mal nam vlagatakla so de larak regarding ra angel white trigel other possibility kan come in contact with and get dile if they will require a quarantine will they be paying their quarantine on their own alubeng dia.
So say kita lulukor nga president lo say kita malayang sura plura marigel el gina like gidero kul telang tengi laurayora COVID-19 mga contact tracing based on result contact tracing tirigel madang al contact sa smer al require a quarantine ministry ra health mo quarantine tir harawa quarantine tirigel gire del lolsi sa pertira quarantine.
Pero se ultur sen nga sono ngara naram rigel me.
Why say ay kay gidero do rigel me.
Sea mal gira de los peril girel. Mal. Hindi kadabol kadam lang alak ratal sigang. El adri ka sa press conference Wednesday aton so mil upre.
President Halitel wadi last. So a thing Dr. Hancock, I know there hasn't the question hasn't come up with the media, but I think it'll be good for them to know. What does this case do to our COVID-free status?
Thanks, Ritter. So as far as for CDC evaluation is in regards to travel health assessments, so the traveler health notification for COVID-19, as you may know, there's 4 different levels, and Palau is currently the lowest level. When CDC evaluates those levels for communities that are less than 200,000, they do not count travel-associated cases towards that. So Palau would maintain its low-risk rating by CDC for travelers' health notifications. So that's helpful, and of course we hope that it continues that way.
So I guess the question is, that mean are we COVID free or we're COVID safe?
Well, I think Palau definitely, that COVID safe determination, we don't have a designation for that, but again, your immunization coverage rates are just outstanding. And I know that's been a lot of work by a lot of people, including the community, to get there. Certainly, I think if there is individuals in Palau who are not immunized and qualify, they should get immunized. And as Ritter talked about, and I know that the community is well aware that there may be potentially an expanded age range for immunization, and so certainly encourage that continued uptick. But I know it's concerning identifying this travel-related case, but I have full confidence that Palau is ready. You have the systems in place. The fact that you identified this case demonstrates the excellent ability to detect and respond, as well as your immunization rates and clinical preparedness. So, if there was a official criteria for COVID safe, certainly think Palau is well on your way to doing that. The immunization coverage is just outstanding.
I think, just to clarify, I don't think the Ministry of Health has ever used the term COVID-free officially, because we never know. We haven't tested 100% of the population. So just to be safe, I think we can say we're COVID safe, but I don't think we can or should officially self-declare as COVID-free. Yeah.
Okay. Last, okay, one last.
Alde last one. Temlara lulmela te okay la say tirigel role first responders na involve ang do they get tested. Tel flight tarame yung larkel me. What did I miss a flight?
So again, السقوم الترجل الهذا الجديد الانترفيو مدang مدang di for now kada madangino se self flight tamlara kuamel mira may nine mlamot naling lakra edel sanderal may man mal lower risk el mortirigel rogul frontliners mar other your airport tama almle handler self flight o masinder tira vaccinated togar frontliners are vaccinated ngarasel na ang erulge kami sige may nine okay.
They're protected sa mga airport,
no
right?
PPE.
To PPE sa mga airport, mga ganda mga taklisel dito. Hindi ka dito test if it's not necessary, right? Sige na. Anyway, sige dito ka man maring test.
Maldiwan di kade. Tirigel mnera kasus 93. The Mila test shall arrive with the more 7 days restriction. Mga rigel go through required.
Okay, so tirigel mnera kasus sa 89, the total 89, timlakal 93. Tirigel mnera required tiril make sure to submit a proof for a vaccination, full vaccination, meaning either tingila tablol dose sa Pfizer, tablol dose sa Moderna, malubong 1 al Johnson & Johnson, at least 2 weeks ra wear nga sa Skogin May. So 14 days before October ra igel blaring in May it na fully vaccinated. Direct kal namle require a negative PCR test low spera nasopharyngeal swab malubong oropharyngeal swab cell small test. Imla negative ro ko yagiler. Direct imla kal test report ra kasus tamora restriction of movement till 7 days test ra day 7. El PCR test ra day 7 day 14 talmel antigen testing. Se lo determine sa tabuguyun malubundak positive buguyun malubundak.
Kaman sulang. Ma Wednesday, mutro nga kafal me mutro to ka karmi. Hindi ko kada mal dimre nga suli usel last minute di ko man me rogu Len cloud to trail abang ngira atara balua, lo singara yan mo cloud to trail niya tu berabalua. Ada ni trak loreng mal kau tiga dengan atara ngolet, elaka pada mungkin mau tamatar ye del just because kada ukrameng sa ice mangana. Oman Sulang. Oh,
Thank you, Dr. Hancock, for joining us as always. Thank you for your assistance and support and insight.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me, and it's an honor to stand beside you guys as you go through this. So always feel free to reach out and let us know how we can help.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
Ramongil. Okay. Otherwise, press conference leader al tuta di mertegi de ongali mo mal misaula rurens marul mesra ikel belau mal sil belau malungil silsil mar gamamar belau le gorgamiu edan tinil mrula yel dorule mo klor ngodro gui ya di ngara de klebo da galtogra de longalet akti kmiga igidi oidi olgyung msa morangel belau ngartel bitam modmoren sayer program leader al sils toqawngil longalad ma subdel metod ma akmo ngwa may gumsa spider nga ngalil belau mo bigidel al sils. Thank you very much, ma Wednesday.